What is going on, everyone? This is Jabo, your pit stop quick, one-stop shop for all things NASCAR and other sports just a bit outside. I'm your host, Brendan Bryan, and let's get started. If you love motorsports like I do, then this time of year is the best, as all the major racing series kick off their seasons. NASCAR's already got it started. Week 3 is coming up now. And F1 gets things going in just a couple of weeks. But sandwiched in between these series, starting this weekend, is my favorite open-wheeled racing series, the last truly ludicrous cowboys on four wheels, IndyCar. And today we are going to preview the 2026 season and make some crazy predictions along the way. Let's get started. First off, IndyCar's schedule has changed up quite a bit in the offseason. First, Iowa is not returning to the schedule to the chagrin of Joseph Newgarden, and Thermal Club is not returning to the chagrin of, Alex Palou. Also, the street course in Ontario is changing venues to the Markham course. IndyCar is also adding a street race in Arlington, Texas, the first race for IndyCar in the state of Texas since 2023. Phoenix also makes a return to the schedule, essentially replacing Iowa. Milwaukee will become the host of the season's doubleheader, which was Iowa last year. Nashville remains on the schedule but is being replaced as the finale in favor of Monterey, better known as Laguna Seca, which hosted the finale previously. But the biggest news comes in the form of an additional race to the IndyCar schedule, making it an 18-race season, and I say the more the merrier. Personally, I wish the season was at least 20 races, but that's just me. This is the first time since 2014 that the schedule was longer than 17 races long, and I'm not counting the exhibition race they did a couple years ago. That doesn't count. These are points races. And this 18th race will be taking place in the streets of Washington, D.C., which is, that's about as American as it gets, I reckon. Now let's take a look at some of the major storylines heading into 2026. First, Honda has re-signed long-term with IndyCar as its second manufacturer alongside Chevrolet, which is good news for IndyCar fans. But the big news story heading into the season is, can anyone dethrone the reigning champion Alex Palou from winning his 4th consecutive title, his 5th in 6 years? Honestly, I don't know. Arrow McLaren's team is the next closest challenger. Can their lineup finally fulfill their potential? Penske is another team that could challenge for the title, but they are coming off like their worst season in, ever, essentially. To me, a title is a little too much to ask for the captain's team this year, and that is especially true since they just shed the team's veteran driver, Will Power, who is the last driver to win a championship other than Palou. Replacing Power is the rising youngster David Malukas. But can Malukas pick off where Power left off? Speaking of Will Power, he heads to Andretti, replacing Colton Herta, who is making a run for F1, running in F2 in 2026. But will Will's power put Andretti in title contention? Finally, as of recording, it seems that Prema Racing, after one season of racing in IndyCar, will not return in 2026 due to financial issues. This leaves Jacob Abel and Robert Schwartzman without rides at this moment, which is a pity because this team showed some flashes in their inaugural season. Most notably, the biggest upset in Indy 500 pole history when their driver Robert Schwartzman won the pole. Alright, it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for, prediction time. So instead of having separate sections discussing drivers, teams, and results, I'm kind of combining it all into one big just goulash. There are 25 full-time drivers in the IndyCar field currently listed to make a run at the title, so I'm going to predict the whole point standings from last to first, discussing the team, driver, and predicting their seasons along the way. Then after those predictions, I'm predicting who is going to win the Indy 500 pole, race, and I'll just do the whole podium. And you know what? I'm also going to predict Rookie of the Year. Is that okay with you? All right, with those very loose parameters out of the way, let's get into it right here. Finishing 25th last among the full-time IndyCar drivers, I have Stingray Robb driving for Juncos Hollinger Racing. Is it Juncos or Juncos? Juncos is a bird, and I like birds. So I'm going to say Juncos, but I think it's Juncos. Anyway, Stingray, as his, name suggests, is a bottom dweller, like most rays are. That's why stingrays have those barbs on their, tail things. So they sting anyone who steps on them or, tries to put them a lap down. Stingray had one top 10 last season, and with his equipment, I don't see him improving massively this season, but maybe scoring another top 10, like, 2 or even, 3, and not finishing last in points would be a realistic goal for 2026. In 24th, I have rookie Mick Schumacher driving for Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. Look, the reason I have Schumacher so low is, firstly, rookies usually struggle in IndyCar because of the competition level. Second, it's Rahal. I mean, when was the last time we said anything positive about Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing? Letterman, not Letterman. And finally, I haven't really seen Mick Schumacher race all that much. I do not take his F1 stats very seriously because you could tie rocket ships to those Haas cars and they'd still finish dead last. Schumacher has the potential, in my opinion, to finish in the top 20 in points, but with his equipment and the level of competition, yada yada yada, I'm not really expecting all that much. If he goes out there and finishes every race, that's all I can ask out of him this season. Just grow and learn. Speaking of growing and learning, in 23rd, I have another rookie, that being Chow Collette, driving for AJ Foyt Racing. He enters the team replacing David Malukas, who really shined in that car a year ago. I have him so low in the standing because, level of competition and his equipment. Again, AJ Foyt equipment isn't the best in the world, and he's a rookie. But just like Schumacher, he has the potential to finish top 20 in the standings, and I honestly think he could. But all he really needs to worry about this year is grow and learn and just complete as many laps as possible to prepare himself for his sophomore season. Oh, and don't look stupid while doing it. In 22nd, I have 2025 Rookie of the Year winner Louis Foster, driving for Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. I believe Foster has the potential for a breakout season where he could be a dark horse for a top 15 points finish. But his equipment, as we've discussed earlier, and inexperience probably hold him back for now. Last year, this team was really good at almost getting top 10s, so this year the goal should be to, convert on that, score some top 10s, maybe even challenge for a top 5, or even better yet, a podium. In 21st, I have Romain Grosjean returning to IndyCar full-time after missing all of 2025 with Dale Coyne Racing. This is another team and driver who could play spoiler and make a push for top 15, and heck, with Grosjean's abilities, top 10 is not out of the picture. Grosjean is a solid driver, but will this team be able to hit the ground running, or will it take time to gel? In 20th, I have Graham Rahal, the veteran leader of Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. Over the past few seasons, Rahal's stats have been, slipping, and I don't see that trend suddenly reversing. Rahal has the potential for a surprise run or two, but I don't see him putting together a full season. In 19th, I have our final rookie driver who, subsequently, is my 2026 Rookie of the Year prediction, that being Dennis Hauger for Dale Coyne Racing. Look, Dale Coyne had some great success with Rinus VeeKay last season, but will that speed carry into 2026? I don't know. But Dennis Hauger is a very talented rookie who I think has the potential to turn heads if his 2025 Indy next season was anything to go by. In 18th, I have Marcus Ericsson of Andretti. This is a driver who could easily finish top 10 in points or bottom 5. He had a disastrous 2025 season and looks to rebound in 2026. I do not think things can get any worse for him, but man, crazier things have happened. If he does not return to some sort of form this season, it is very well possible that he will be racing elsewhere in 2027. In 17th, I have Rinus VeeKay driving for Juncos Hollinger Racing, 2025 saw the very speedy VK outperform his Dale Coyne racing equipment to finish 14th in the standings. I don't think Hollinger has better equipment than Dale Coyne, but VK is a wheelman. Expect him to outperform his equipment again in 2026, but probably not to the same highs as 2025. In 16th, I have third-year driver Nolan Siegel from Arrow McLaren Racing. 2025 wasn't good, not even in the slightest, but 2026 is a new year, and I don't see Siegel repeating disaster in 2026 with the equipment he is driving. I also do not see him setting the world on fire, but a French top 15 points finish would be a boom for the team that finished 2025 22nd in the points. In 15th, I have AJ Foyt's Santino Ferrucci. Ferrucci continues to be one of the more exciting drivers in the field, especially at ovals and the Indy 500. However, this team struggles with consistency, and with how 2025 ended on a skid, I see 2026 being more of the exciting highs and lows we have come used to seeing from Santino Ferrucci. In 14th, I have Kyffin Simpson, the third-year driver for Chip Ganassi Racing. Look, 2025 wasn't a conquest, but it was miles better than his rookie campaign in 2024. I do not see Simpson jumping straight into top 10 points contention, but maybe becoming a more consistent podium threat and finisher, because if he either regresses or stalls in 2026, his tenure might be over at Chip Ganassi Racing. In 13th, I have Alexander Rossi for Ed Carpenter Racing. His first season with the team in 2025 was alright. Had a strong start and finish, but don't look in between the lines. Seriously, you don't need to worry about that. It's weird to say, but Rossi is now a veteran driver of the series, and though I think his winning and title contention days are over at the moment, that doesn't mean he can't improve on his 15th place points finish from 2025, and maybe even challenge for a top 10. In 12th, I have Marcus Armstrong for Meyershank Racing. 2025 was a great year for this team. I mean, they really overperformed and finished 8th in the point standings. However, how much of this run was aided by the lame duck season from Team Penske? Can they keep up the good form in 2026? Don't be shocked if this team takes a step back, but also don't be shocked if the opposite is true. In 11th, I have third-year driver Christian Rasmussen for Ed Carpenter Racing. 2025 was a solid improvement over his 2024 rookie season, and it ended with an absolute banger. It was easily a candidate for Drive of the Year when Rasmussen took to the high road at Milwaukee and left it all out on the line every lap of the race to beat Goliath, better known as Alex Palou, to win his first ever race. Now, it is hard to expect the same shock and awe in 2026, but this team was still solid in 2025, and it isn't unrealistic that they don't improve marginally in 2026. In 10th, I have the Meyershank driver Felix Rosenqvist, who had a great 2026 that ended with a career-high 6th place points finish. Now, just like his teammate Armstrong, how much of this team's success was attributed to the Penske collapse? Can this team keep up momentum? Honestly, I think this team is due for some slight regression, but I would also consider Rosenqvist a dark horse for a top 5 points finish in 2026. In 9th, I have Penske's prodigal son, the man who replaced Will Power, David Malukas. Last year, David Malukas was very competitive in his AJ Foyt racing equipment and probably deserved a win at least one race last season, but that's not how the cards fell. But with his promotion to Penske for 2026, I think Malukas' potential is sky high. But remember, is Penske ready to jump straight back into title contention after the worst season they've had since, well, I can remember? Or is this more of a rebuild season aimed at a title run in 2027? In 8th, I have Kyle Kirkwood, who had a breakout 2025, which resulted in 3 victories and a 4th place points finish for the Andretti driver. Now, can this team follow up 2025 with a stronger 2026? How much will the Penske factor impact this team? Kirkwood is a very solid dark horse title pick, but how his 2025 ended, he might not start out of the gates too hot in 2026, and that might just be too much to overcome to win his first title. In 7th, I have Scott McLaughlin for Team Penske. Though he ended 2025 pretty solidly with a 10th place points finish, all that anyone is going to remember from his season is wrecking out on the pace lap at the Indy 500, which is, if you didn't know, just a wee bit embarrassing. McLaughlin is young and very talented. I don't expect that to hold him back in any way. I like the consistency he ended with in 2025. He is another dark horse title contender, but the first priority for this team is to get back to victory lane in 2026. In 6th, I have the immortal, the everlasting Scott Dixon for Chip Ganassi Racing. Last year saw a very quiet but consistent season from Dixon that paid off with a circumstantial victory at Mid-Ohio and a 3rd place points finish. With Dixon turning 46 this season, the question is now when, rather than if, he begins to fall off due to his age. But the 6-time series champ is the most experienced driver in the series, so don't be shocked if he surprises in 2026. We now break into the top 5, where I have Will Power for Andretti. Power has always been a Penske driver since the primordial times, and it came as a shock to me and pretty much everyone else that he was ousted from the team after a 9th place points finish in 2025, which led the team, by the way. He is also the last driver to win a title that wasn't named Alex Palou. He might turn 45 this season, but I think Andretti has been missing a savvy veteran for some time, and I think Power has a bit of a chip on his shoulder this season that could turn this team into a dangerous one for 2026. In 4th, I have Joseph Newgarden leading Team Penske in 2026. 2025 was bad for all of Team Penske, but Newgarden was by far the worst. But he did at the 11th hour win the final race of the season, so there at least was some good at the end of the season, which gives this team momentum heading into 2026. Newgarden has the ability to go out and win and compete for titles. Heck, he's got 2 of them. But there are some concerns with this team. Mainly, with Power gone, Newgarden is now the leading veteran driver of the organization. How much will that play a factor this season? Can Newgarden fill Power's leadership role at Team Penske? Only time will tell. In 3rd, our first driver on the podium, I have Arrow McLaren's Christian Lundgaard, which that might be my hottest take out of all these predictions. But just hear me out. Lundgaard put together a pretty quiet and solid 5th place points finish in 2025, which was his first season at McLaren. He now enters his 5th full-time season in the series and is 2nd with McLaren. I just don't see this team regressing in 2026. Honestly, I'm smelling a bit of a breakout season from Lundgaard. The potential is all there for this team, but can they put it all together? In 2nd, coming up short of the title, a common theme in his career just overall, I have Pato O'Ward for Arrow McLaren. This team finished runner-up in 2025, and I see history repeating itself in 2026. Now don't get me wrong, they have the potential to win it all, but they have to put together a full season, which is something we haven't seen out of Pato O'Ward as of yet. That in an Indy 500 win. I'm sorry, I had to jab him once there, I'm sorry. He is either super hot or super cold for each half of the season, so it's going to be kind of a question mark if he can put it all together. Again, this team could easily go out and win this title, but they are going to have to do something they've never done before and put together that full season. That means in 1st, no introduction is needed. He is the 3-time defending champion and 4-time overall champion in IndyCar. From Chip Ganassi Racing, it's Alex Palou, aka Jimmy Johnson of IndyCar at this point. Honestly, until someone beats him, I'm not going to doubt him. His biggest threat for the title in 2026 are uncharacteristic mistakes and Pato O'Ward. And I think the Pato O'Ward thing is a much less of a threat than himself, essentially. As long as he puts together fast and consistent performances that we've seen out of the last 5 years essentially, I don't see anyone beating him. I think 2027 will be the true test for Palou, as I believe Penske will be back to full strength, and then McLaren will also be right there with Palou. But until then, I think the title will be closer this year, but still a decisive win for Palou. So those are your 25 full-time drivers for the 2026 IndyCar season, in correct order of points finished, by the way. But who out of this bunch will win races this season, and who will win the Indy 500? First off, I am predicting that 10 drivers will win a race in 2026, the most since 2017. I just really like the talent in this field, and I think competition will be really tight this year for the winner's circle. I have 5 of these drivers winning 1 race apiece. Christian Lundgaard, who is just due for one at this point. Scott Dixon, who always finds a way. Kyle Kirkwood, who is becoming the new oval ace, rivaling Joseph Newgarden. Will Power, who will find a way to victory lane with his new team Andretti. And finally, I have Kiffin Simpson stealing a win this season. I think there will be talks about replacing Simpson throughout the season, but somewhere along the way, the cards are just going to fall his way and he's going to score his first ever IndyCar victory. I have all 3 Penske drivers scoring a pair of victories on the season, so 6 total. I cannot see them being kept out of victory lane as much as they were a year ago, but consistency, in my opinion, will be their biggest hindrance and hold them back from title contention. Then I have Pato O'Ward scoring 3 victories, which, that's pretty reasonable for Pato. He's done it before. Then I have defending champion having his win total halved from a year ago, which is really dramatic, from 8 to 4, but that's still going to lead the series in wins regardless. Those will be your winners in 2026, but which one of these 10 drivers will win the granddaddy of them all, the Indy 500? First, who will lead the Indy 500 to green? Chip Ganassi Racing and Penske are always safe bets to win this honor, but instead, I am taking Will Power, the all-time pole sitter, to win his first Indy 500 pole. But enough stalling. Who's going to win this darn thing? Well, I'm going to stall a little bit longer because here is your podium finishers. In third, I have the dominant car of the race, who will come up just short of his third Indy 500, Joseph Newgarden. In second, I have Newgarden's teammate, David Malukas, who was really strong at this race a year ago. But again, Malukas will come up short to this driver, who will win their second Indy 500. Give it up for Will Power, who will get one over on his replacement and win the 2026 Indy 500. Also, he will be the first driver to win from the pole at the Indy 500 since Simon Pagenaud in 2019. Just to add on to Power, I think this is going to be a really good season from him. Probably his last truly great season in IndyCar due to his age, but again, I just think he's going to be super dangerous and he's going to cap it off with an Indy 500 win. Well, there you have it, everyone. A preview of the 2026 IndyCar season, covering and predicting very accurately, mind you, all 25 drivers to the nth degree. It's going to be an exciting season, for second in the standings at least, but I kid. I cannot wait to get things started. IndyCar revs things up this coming Sunday, March 1st. Man, is it already March? On Fox at St. Petersburg. That's always a great race. I am pumped, and I hope you are too, for another thrilling season of racing in IndyCar. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Jabo. I've been your host, Brendan Bryan, and I will see you all next time.